week 1, bro.
Well, look, as Penix, we'll see if he's back healthy, enough to start. But I think ideally, if you're a Falcons fan, you want Penix to win this job because he's younger and he has injury concerns himself, obviously, dating all the way back to college. But he doesn't have the concussion, the next really hard hit or fall where he hits his head could end his career, end his season, end his career. So you'd want Penix. But I think Tua's a better quarterback. Like, I think Michael Penix will probably never lead the league in passing yards, which Tua's done. He'll probably never lead the league in completion percentage, which Tua has done. Look at these numbers for their career. I get it, Penix is early in his career, but it's not even close. And Tua, not in the greatest situation. I know he's had a couple years in Miami where he had all that talent around him, but even before Mike McDaniel got there and Tyreek Hill got there, Tua would win games. And I've teased him about beating tomato cans, not winning in cold weather. That's true. But he still just about always has had a winning record for the season, but for these last couple years. But look at the numbers. They're not even close. And Tua is just the problem of the concussions and all of that. But I think he's definitely the better quarterback. I'll throw this out there. He hasn't been the same guy since there was all that talk about maybe him retiring. But that doesn't mean he can't get back to being that guy. They got a ton of weapons in Atlanta. So I do think he's better than Michael Penix, even though if I'm a fan of the Falcons, I would want Penix to just beat him out and maybe prove he's better.
Makes sense.
So I think aside from what Falcons fans want, I think I disagree with everything you said.
You don't think Tua's better than Michael Penix?
I think that you know who I also think will never lead the league in passing or completion percentage again? Tua. I think if the question were, will Michael Penix ever have a single season as good as Tua's best season, I would say no, I don't think he will. But I don't think Tua is ever going to come close to that again either. I don't know if that season was a fluke, if it was who he was going to be, and he got unlucky.
The season after that is when he led them in the league in completion percentage.
But that was the season, right, where he missed a lot of the time because of the injuries, or is that the season after that? He has not been. I had concerns about Tua's viability even when he was doing those things, but post the multiple traumatic concussions and how he changed his style of play, he's not a viable NFL starting quarterback, flatly, in my opinion. And so
you don't think he can get back to?
No, I don't. And I think that he will never be in a situation as beneficial for a quarterback's numbers as that first year in Miami.
I mean,
The core, uncomfortable truth regarding Tua Tagovailoa revolves around a distinct vulnerability. This isn't merely about the standard quarterback responsibilities of knowing when to slide or step out of bounds to avoid unnecessary contact. It delves much deeper than that. It encompasses the nuanced ability to stand firmly within the pocket and absorb a hit, to trust the protection and deliver a throw even when collision is imminent. These are the subtle, often overlooked aspects of playing the position that separate the durable from the delicate. Consider Aaron Rodgers and his current style of play. The concern isn't solely about him scrambling and needing to get down safely. Observe the way he releases the football with increased urgency, the manner in which he navigates the pocket, and his clear aversion to taking a sack, as seen in his calculated decision against Myles Garrett. He is still playing football, still performing the quarterback duties, but it is evidently different. His approach lacks the fearlessness and bravado he possessed back in 2010. The stark reality for Tua is that he is already functioning like a quarterback in his 40s. This observation is not an indictment of older quarterbacks, as many have enjoyed prolonged success. I am using 40 as a general benchmark for a veteran who has lost a step. Think of Kirk Cousins or Phillip Rivers in their later years. You could still see they were effective, but something was subtly off. Even during Cousins' peak moments last season, or Rivers' gritty performances, and yes, even Rodgers now, you recognize the shift. You cannot always pinpoint it statistically, because the box score might show 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Yet, as a viewer, You sense it. You watch them operate and think, they aren't playing poorly, but I just can't place my finger on what's missing. That is precisely the sensation of watching Tua Tagovailoa. He isn't terrible, but there is an underlying fragility to his game that leaves you with an uneasy, indefinable feeling. To me, that encapsulates the foundational, fundamental issue with Tua at this stage of his career. Now, from a front office perspective, I believe the general manager's stance of fostering competition for the QB1 role is astute. It makes perfect sense. You cannot simply anoint a player. You don't tell a young quarterback, you are the future, so just relax and hold the clipboard. Conversely, you don't declare a veteran the backup and expect him to fade away quietly. The approach in Atlanta, bringing in competition, is entirely logical, and I fully support the franchise's decision to acquire a player of Tua's caliber. I am genuinely curious to see if Tua can settle into this old man style of quarterback play and still achieve significant success, perhaps even outperforming Michael Penix Jr. in the immediate future. Naturally, the organization hopes Penix is the long-term answer. He has displayed intriguing flashes, showcasing an ability to deliver the football and perform in high-pressure moments, traits I have found impressive and have tried to highlight. However, we must avoid revisionist history regarding Tua's pre-Mike McDaniel career. Before the current offensive genius took the helm in Miami, Tua's production was pedestrian. We are talking about a season with 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, ranking as the 22nd best quarterback in the league. For context, he was ranked below Teddy Bridgewater, a declining Russell Wilson, Mac Jones during his time with the Patriots, Ryan Tannehill, and Kirk Cousins. Let's be real. We need to temper the narratives. If we go back to 2020, Tua was ranked 33rd among quarterbacks, though he only played in 10 games. His statistics that year: 64% completion percentage, 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and an 87.1 passer rating, were far from disastrous. But let's not pretend he entered the league and immediately looked the part of a franchise cornerstone. The Dolphins were genuinely considering moving on from him until Mike McDaniel arrived. McDaniel transformed the offense overnight, leading many to declare, "See, Tua is legitimate." And yes, he was surrounded by a supremely talented, stacked offensive roster and a play caller who was absolutely in his element. If Tua remains healthy and does not have to compromise his natural game, I do believe he can find considerable success with Zach Robinson and this Atlanta Falcons team. But that inherent fragility persists, and because of it, his playing style has fundamentally altered. You can observe it in his games, even during plays where he isn't hit or forced to scramble. As I mentioned earlier, it mirrors the feeling of watching Rodgers or Cousins. The crucial difference, however, is that those veteran players are so exceptionally elite between the ears. Cousins, and especially Rodgers, possess a decade-plus of experience that grants them an encyclopedic knowledge of how to play the position. They understand how to run an offense, read defenses, and manipulate coverages at such an insanely high level that they can compensate for their physical decline. They can get by playing this way. Tua, simply put, cannot replicate that level of cerebral command. That level of mastery comes with time and experience. So, who is the Atlanta Falcons' best option at quarterback? Long-term, it is unequivocally Michael Penix Jr. He is the future. However, in the immediate present, especially with Penix returning from an injury, the calculus shifts. Due to his experience alone, having started numerous NFL games, Tua Tagovailoa is likely the better option for Week 1. He has more seasoning, more live reps, and a better grasp of the pro game speed than Penix does right now. This places the Falcons in a genuinely tricky, delicate situation. There is no clean, obvious answer. As someone who has been creating content on the Falcons, it is difficult to feel entirely confident leaning in one direction. It is challenging to be 100% positive or 100% negative about their outlook. The more I analyze this scenario, the more I am forced to concede that it is inherently messy. It is, for sure, a bit chaotic. What is clear is that the organization deliberately avoided taking a flyer on reclamation projects like Mac Jones, Malik Willis, or other cast-off quarterbacks. To me, that signals a specific strategy. They believe in Penix, but they have built in a safety net. If Penix is not the guy, they have Tua as a contingency. And if Tua surprises everyone and becomes legitimate, that's a win. If neither works out, they are positioned to draft a quarterback in what is projected to be a strong class next year. No harm, no foul. This mindset is typical when a new regime takes over. You bring in a new head coach and a new front office, and their attitude is often, "We don't care about the past. We don't care about previous draft picks, past contracts, or any of that history. It has nothing to do with us. We are starting from today. Michael Penix Jr. is on this roster, and he happens to be a quarterback. We aren't looking at his draft status or his tenure. We are looking at him as a piece. We also need another quarterback. We can acquire one for virtually nothing. Great, let's bring him in. We will let the season unfold. If it goes poorly, we draft a quarterback next year. If Penix is legit, even better. If Penix isn't legit but Tua is, great. We have success. We have put ourselves in a position to win, or we have put ourselves in a position to fail forward, which allows us to draft our true quarterback of the future with this coach and this front office. I support this pragmatic, almost clinical approach more than the desperate scramble to find another Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold reclamation project. It is easier said than done to replicate that magic. For the record, I was on the record stating that Malik Willis was the player everyone should target, and I might have preferred that route for Atlanta. However, I understand why they didn't pursue that path. When you are trying to usher in a new era, having fired the previous staff and hired new leadership, there is no reason to rush into a flashy move. That isn't what the Seahawks did when they brought in Mike McDonald. It isn't what the Colts did with Shane Steichen. They all took a breath. They assessed their roster. They let things bake for a moment. The Colts had Anthony Richardson and let him develop before eventually adding Daniel Jones later. It wasn't their first move. It wasn't at the top of their priority list. It came after they had established their foundation. I understand that asking a fan base to be patient is difficult, especially one that has experienced years of mediocrity or regression. Telling them to simply wait is a hard sell. But I do ultimately understand the strategy. I get why the Falcons are handling it this way. Those are my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Atlanta Falcons quarterback situation? Who do you believe is the best option for them right now? Michael Penix Jr. or Tua Tagovailoa? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, whether you agree with me or disagree. Either way, let's spark some discussions, maybe even a few friendly debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun with it. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would love to see you be a part of it. I want to create something we all feel genuinely connected to, something we are excited to be involved in. I believe we are well on our way to achieving that goal. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.